guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today we're going to be making some Christmas cards using the Continued Joy BetterPress of the month. So this is that fun way of doing some stamping using a metal plate that's going to press everything into the cardstock. If you've got a thick enough cardstock, it needs a really nice texture to that. But this is one of the easiest ways that I've seen to do perfect stamping every time. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we get started on using the BetterPress with this guy, I'm going to basically prep a couple of panels. I'm using some watercolor paper this time. I don't have a lot of the BetterPress paper, which of course is going to be better to use, but it does work with other types of paper too. So I've got out one of my blending brushes and I'm using some Simon Hurley ink, and I'm just going to ink up this panel. I figure when I add some color to the top, it'll give me really a nice contrast. So just adding a gentle part in the center, and then I'm going to blend it out to the outside and just keep on adding ink until I get the darkness that I want. So I've got it darkest in the center and then kind of fading off to the white. So it's got that kind of nice glow. Okay, so also, since we are doing some Christmas cards, which I've been doing a lot of lately, I decided this time I'm going to pull out my DIY shimmer sprays and do a little splatter. Already done a couple of panels, so just putting it into this plastic box. So I think I'm going to go with, to start, some of this gold, and this is made with gold perfect pearls and water. Just put into a little mini mister. Spray a little bit of that down onto the block, and then I'll pick it up with a brush and just add a little splatter on there. Okay, so we've got some gold shimmer down. I think I'm going to add some dark blue. So this one is made with the Forever Blue Perfect Pearls. And this is just to add a little texture and interest to the back. Then I think I'm going to come in with, this one is actually a sheer shimmer spritz, and that's going to be in, it says the color is Frost. I think I picked this one up at Joann's. It's been quite a while, so they may or may not still have it. Let's put some of that down, but you could basically make your own using the Perfect Pearl color of Perfect Pearls. Okay, so I'm going to just take this and heat it up with my heat gun to speed along the drying process, because I'm impatient. Since I'm doing this on watercolor paper, it is actually not taking, it doesn't work the paper nearly as much, which is nice. I have a habit of doing this kind of thing on regular cardstock, which does tend to warp the paper some. So I'm adding some ink to my BetterPress plate. I've already got it in place onto the chase. Yes, this is the chase and this is the platen, but on the chase I've got it already in place, and I'm using some of the BetterPress ink. This one is in BetterPress Black, and it's thicker than regular archival ink. It is also it is an archival ink, by the way. So I'm going ahead and putting that in place. And one of the cool things is we've got the grid lines on our chase here, so we can line it up exactly where we want it. And it's magnetic, so it's going to hold the plate in place. And when you're applying your ink, you're going to do a tap and twist. That's going to help get the ink onto the plate, and it's going to basically just be kind of hovering there. It's going to be so nice. And I've also taped my cardstock. This is one of the panels that I just finished making out of that watercolor paper. This one I did in Bee Sting. I think it's Bee Sting Red from Simon Hurley. So I've already got it taped down. What we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, place it on top of the chase, and the little connectors here are magnetic and spring-loaded. So it's going to basically hover, waiting for us to send it through my die cutting machine. So we just crank it through once. You don't go forward and back. If you go back, you could get some ghosting if it happens to shift a little bit. So we just lift that off, and that looks fabulous. Now, one trick that I did do on this, and I'm going to go ahead and show you now, this does have a good, nice texture. So if you were to run your finger across it, you'd feel it. It also has caused it to warp just a little bit, probably because of the water that was on there, but that's going to be fine. Underneath this magnetic piece, we've got three mylar shims, and the purpose for those is so that it can make it, if the paper isn't quite thick enough, this helps to add that additional pressure to make it perfect. Well, because I've been using cardstock instead of letterpress paper, I decided to put an additional shim in. So this is a piece of heavyweight cardstock, and that's the reason I got this really nice impression even on just using watercolor paper. So if you want a little extra pressure, if you want to have a little bit deeper of an impression so you can feel it better, add an extra shim or go with some thicker paper. Either one's going to work, but I think that turned out lovely. I'm going to make a couple more. I've got 2 more panels over here, 2 different colors. I'm going to do the exact same thing to both of those. Next, I'm trimming down my watercolor panel. I measured the base of the tree, and that's at 1.5 inches. I'm sorry, 3.5 inches. So this one can be cut down to basically 3.5 inches. I want this to be 4, so it'll fit nicely on a card base. So what I'm going to do, because 4 is more than that, which is awesome, I'm going to use the top of my tree and the base of my tree to be my guides as to where to cut. So I'm going to cut both sides, lining up my snowflake at the top and the base at the bottom right at 2 inches, and then I can trim away the excess, and that's going to make it so the tree is perfectly centered. Now next I'm going to trim off some of the bottom. This one is going to be cut down to 5.5, but I'm going to eyeball it, and so I can make sure I get it about centered. I also want to make sure all of my lines are straight, so I cut off some from the bottom first so that I can make sure it was a 90-degree angle with the side. Now I can cut the other side, so now the width is 4 inches. And I'm going to cut it down so that the snowflake comes to about the edge of my guard, my thumb guard. And then I can just flip it around and trim it back down to that 5.25. Now you do what works best for you, but this I found is making it so I can get this perfectly centered. The image, it is big. It takes up the entire card front, but I can get it perfectly centered so that it's going to fit perfectly on my card base with that little 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Next, I'm going to adhere these down to some card bases using some foam tape. So that's going to finish up this video making some fun cards using the BetterPress of the month from Spellbinders. This is called Continued Joy for October 2023. You guys have a wonderful day. Be sure to check out the playlist to see more videos where I'm using Spellbinders products, and I will talk to you soon. Bye guys.